We all want to belong, have a sense of identity apart from watching the identity. Be part of something great, beyond yourself. Now, the spirit of excellence is always buried deep within us, and we know if duly supported, we can blossom and the surroundings can glow in radiance to our potential. This is one of the many dreams we have as youths. But life, oh! What then happens to you when all these expectations are not met? The family that you put on a high pedestal turns their back on you because of spiritual indifference. Your friends scatter away, and the last place of refuge, the church, becomes a place of concern, gossip, and rejection. What do you do? Welcome to The Identity. Now, in today's show, we have an amazing panel. From my far left is Haman Tambo. Hi.
Hello.
You're good?
I'm all right, and you?
I'm great. Thank you for asking. Next to him is Naomi Ongaga.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you.
I'm so delighted to be here.
You look amazing.
Thank you.
It's long since I saw somebody in all white. Welcome to the set. Next to her is Cliff Ogechi. Vipi?
Poa sana.
You're good?
Very fine.
Welcome. And lastly, we have Dolene Mora. Hi.
Hello.
You're good?
Yeah.
Nice. Welcome to the show. Quick question. Did you guys text each other to put on all plain colors? Because
ladies feel like that. We love bright colors.
Okay, ladies,
Yes.
we are sorry.
Yes.
We are sorry. And today's discussion, we're going to talk about dealing with rejection. Now, unlike other shows which we have been talking about dealing with rejection in the settings or in the premises of a relationship, today we're going to talk about this discussion in the setting of a family and the church. Now, let me come to you, Cliff. Is it common? Let us start from the church level. Is it common for young guys to be rejected?
In this day and age and era, it's very common for young guys to be rejected. Mm-hmm. We undergo certain changes that tend to lead to us being rebellious, mm-hmm. and with that comes rejection from the other generation, which is our parents.
Okay. Have you been rejected? I mean, you are a leader, so have you been rejected?
Yeah, I faced rejection, mm-hmm. In terms of maybe things not going my way, but mm-hmm. also, yeah, we can say it's rejection. Please
share with us your experience.
Oh, wow.
I'm sorry I'm on your case today, but then we'll get to borrow from each one of us.
Okay, so there's a point whereby you want to do maybe, okay, in the SDA category, we have these events for the youths, like the Social Sunday and stuff. Mm-hmm. Once you try to pass something and it hits a brick wall, mm-hmm. you feel like this church does not need us. So once you have that pack mentality that this church does not need us, mm-hmm. you form a rejection or you form a barrier that does not exist. Mm-hmm. And once you form this barrier, the elders also feel like, okay, they are trying to draw themselves away from us, so we'll also pull away from them. Mm-hmm. In the end, your things will not succeed, and we'll all keep blaming the elders.
I think that this is common. Dolene, has it happened to your church?
A little bit, yes.
Uh-huh.
But on a personal ground, I would like to comment that for me, it has not happened in its context, mm-hmm. rather different context, mm-hmm. whereby I was new in the church, mm-hmm. so I was expecting to get friends, mm-hmm. But then it wasn't that easy to make friendship, and like nobody want to identify with you, no one mm-hmm. want to be close with you, mm-hmm. so you have to hit with mothers. At least I felt better with mothers than the youth.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
Haman,
yes.
You come from the biggest church in East Africa, the biggest Adventist church in East Africa, if I'm not wrong.
I don't know.
The numbers will tell. Is this? Can you feel this in your church level, at the church level?
Yes, absolutely. I think it happens to everyone. Mm-hmm. It is an open secret that last year we had certain issues in church, and there are some people who felt like the church had rejected them, mm-hmm. and had turned them away. So yes, it happens. Individually, yes, it has happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
especially for me, the rejection doesn't come from the church members per se, but from, I was in a leadership position and I was working with the team, and it reached a point where I felt like the whole team turned against me. You know, they felt like maybe I was being too controlling and I was trying to force my way, so they banded up, and yeah, I don't think we need to go into the details of what happened.
How did that make you feel?
I'm human. I felt bad. I was disappointed. I was also a bit surprised. You know, sometimes you feel like you are gelling well with people, then something happens, then, you know, they turn against you and you're like, but I thought we were friends, you know, that kind of thing. So yeah.
So it goes beyond the church, it gets to be more personal.
Yeah, you start wondering, what is wrong with me? Is it that I'm not articulate enough? Is it that I'm not charismatic? Is it that I'm not wealthy enough? You know, like, it's very easy to start having very funny thoughts about yourself as an individual when you get rejected, and I think it's very human. But of course, when you move past that, then you will maybe get a better perspective.
Let me use the same example. Before I come to you, Naomi, you've also been a leader, and have you faced this sort of rejection as a leader?
As a leader, not yet, but
Let's go to your church then.
as a part of
Not yet.
no, it depends to the specific leadership position that you are holding.
Okay.
Because he was a youth leader, and from his perspective, I've been on the side of the people rejecting the leaders. Like, you feel like they're not passing our issues as it should be. So what is the essence of leading us if you're not viewing our problems to the right authority? Then we don't need you as a leader. Then we'll start isolating you. And
well, at least you know the doers and the ones who are done to. Let me come to you, Naomi. You're a psychologist, and does this create any impact to us does this affect our identity per se?
Yeah, so, okay, let me just start by defining what rejection is. And this is the act whereby someone or something is pushed away. And this happens in different ways because there are different types of rejection. And as a result, you get to have that withdrawal from the society and also have that painful emotional, like the way you said, you just feel so bad. You feel like you're not accepted, you're not appreciated, and you wonder what is wrong with me. And you tend to, like, before you realize what you've undergone rejection, you'll have to go, or you'll have to ask someone, what is wrong with me, or as a leader. And it's good that it's coming out because many leaders are facing all the rejection, and also in our families also. So it really affects us, and it has a lot of impact, and you get depression, and also you undergo a lot of stress, and also a lot of anxiety. Yes.
Could I be wrong if I suggest that leaders are more depressed than members?
You are not wrong.
I'm not wrong.
You are not wrong. In fact, let me again weigh in. As a leader, the way he has said, there are certain expectations of you. And you know, one of the hardest parts about being a leader is being able to please everyone, you know, because you have competing interests and you have this task of trying to balance them out so that you do not seem like you're too inclined towards one group at the expense of another. So what happens when you're a leader is at some point you'll have to pick a side. There are certain issues which you'll have to pick a side. And when you pick a side, obviously there's going to be some people who are not going to be happy with you. And when that usually happens, of course, then this tension starts coming about because now one faction feels like you're not listening to us. One group of people want to protect and defend you. So yeah, leaders are actually under a lot of pressure, and I do not envy leaders. Yes.
Is that supposed to suggest that we at all costs avoid leadership?
No, we shouldn't, because I think before you or after you've gotten this position as a leader, you need to prepare.
Yes.
You need to have that packet. There are those who are going to work with you. There are those who will not work with you. And there are those who are just there. So you will just come up with, how am I going to handle a particular group so that now when these things come, you don't have yourself going depressed because you have already prepared your mind. Like, this is coming, so I a solution for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you know, that's not what really happens in the true case. I've been a leader, but that's not what really happens. You're chosen as a leader in church, and yes, there you go. You start leading people. You don't know that these people, especially in church, you know, church people are good. They will accept you, you know. So you won't know that these people are going to reject me. They're not going to accept me, the rules I give to them, you know. So I tend to differ, but then really that's not the case that happens.
I think the problem comes with expectations. Okay. I've been chosen as a leader, and I'm expecting this is church, so everyone is nice. But we tend to forget, even inside the church, we have people who have come there because they have problems. Someone has come to church because she's feeling depressed. So you will need to know there are different categories of people in church. And as a leader, you need to understand his personality is not your own. So for you to be able to work with them all, you're going to be accepted, yes, but also rejection will come.
Okay.
Yeah.
The real sense you have, you know what you're going to, you know, rejection, you know you're a leader, you know what is required of you, then you will go there prepared. But if you have that, you don't know that there's going to be rejection, there's going to, and you are a leader in a church, and especially you are new, you won't really have to, you won't have that knowledge.
In that case, then I won't be wrong to say this, because I would even borrow from what some philosopher said. If you don't face rejection, if people don't oppose you in any way, then you're not going anywhere. You're not doing anything. That's true.
Yeah, you are not actually a leader if people are not opposing you.
Yes. So in somehow, if you're not facing objection, rejection, and all those ejections, then you should actually reconsider, are you really doing something? And let me come to you, Cliff, because you give us an example of, well, especially when elders are against some particular, motion that you have. Could this be an issue could this be a youth problem or an elders problem? Because sometimes being in that circle, we almost tend to blame it's the elders, it's it's them. What could be the issue?
I believe the issue is both parties are at fault, because the youths, maybe there's something they did, per se. As youths, there are things we face, there are challenges we face, and temptation is there. As a Christian, you have to face temptation. So maybe one of the members fell into temptation and maybe got a child out of wedlock. So, and the leaders are like, if we gave you the freedom, but this is the result that you're bringing, then there's no need of giving you this freedom, because we see that you'll be misusing. But also, you are punishing some of the people who are good. So if you punish me for a mistake that I did not do, I'll get defensive. And if I get defensive, either I'll walk out on you, of which that is always the best solution, to walk out on them.
That happens to be the solution that most of us use.
Most of us.
Not the best, but yes.
The best for you, because it suits you, but it's not the best solution as a church, because the church will fall apart.
Now, I'm even happy that you've brought in the aspect of the mistakes that we do. Naomi, do you think the church, regardless of the enormity of the mistake, do you think the church can be gentle with the youth in dealing with this and not push us out?
I must say it's very unfortunate how the church is taking the approach, how they're taking this issue, especially that issue he has said about a lady who has gotten a child out of wedlock, and this mostly happens in our churches. And here this lady has been taken to church board, and you see that approach psychologically really affects the youth or that individual person, because the person feels her self-esteem has been lowered, and also in front of so many people being ashamed, or also maybe this how do you call it, the congregational thing, the church business. Yes, somebody has committed something in church, and there they are. This is the person who has done this. So that really makes someone's psychological, mental torture, and also this person really feels rejected by the church. And therefore, instead of taking that approach in another different way, maybe they can call this person aside, maybe one person, maybe the pastor or maybe the deaconesses, they can do that. But then this person is taken there in front, this is the person who has been doing, who stole the money So this person tends to feel bad, and this is where now this person will avoid coming to church, and this is where we are losing most of the people out from church. Yes.
Now, I would want us to take another direction in this conversation, because I want to believe the church has structures, sometimes we always blame the system, and sometimes the system is there to work for us. I don't think equally we might blame ourselves. Just to echo what you said is that the both parties are to blame for this. So it's about time that we should also take a self-initiative, introspective, and realize, what am I doing towards this? And I'll be coming to you, Cliff, to inquire what you did, because I'm sure you've been on the receiving end also, also on the victim and the the perpetrator side. I'll come to you to ask what you did. But then what happens when there's spiritual indifference, especially from a family ground? I know that you've had this experience. Please tell us what is your experience?
Mine, maybe to give a brief.
Yeah.
I was from a Catholic family. We had 2 priests. That's my dad's brothers, and we had 1 nun.
Wow.
So we were that deep into Catholic, all the way primary, secondary, up to campus. Now I joined 2015 choir. So I got a number of people, students, like youths, I would say youths, fellow youths, who used to go to Karengata, so they could invite me. We go to church. I invite them also on Sunday. So we could go on Saturday, on return, we go on Sunday. After 6 months, there was a TMI. I attended faithfully. I attended Bible studies. And after a year and 3 months, I got baptized. And now everything went, north and south. That's when I knew who was my friend, was my brother, was my sister. So for my mom, she was a little bit supportive, because prior to that, I had already left going to any church, so I could just stay at home till Christmas. It's when I could go to church, and Tarehe Moja to wind the year. But I had an uncle who used to pay my fees. So he was a priest in the US. So he said, you know what, now that you've decided to join this church, I'm not going to pay any fee for you. And I was like, okay, it's fine. And my elder brother too said, you're now an Adventist, I'm a Catholic, so we can't meet. We couldn't talk. It was terrible for us. But then my mom it's okay, at least you are now going to church. So at least she gave me that support. But now for my 2 brothers, my shosho, and every other person felt like, actually, even my shosho told me, now you are in a cult. You want to sacrifice me. You want me to die for your sake. And I'm like, okay. And she was stubborn in our family. I told her, yes, actually, that's what I'm going to do. So, I think I worked it out. I got frustrated. I had to leave school for 1 semester. Come home just doing nothing. My brother ain't willing to pay fee for me until I go back to Catholic, but I said I'm not going back. So I just stayed at home for a full semester, then enrolled for school again. At that time, I was doing education, so I didn't want to have any memories of what had happened to me. I diverted on my career, but I thank God. As much as it was terrible, you feel frustrated. You're expecting your brother at least to be there for you. I'm your sister, so you should be there for me, but he wasn't there. I felt sad. You can cry. But at least I could say I had a supporting group. I had a number of friends who were Adventists. They could talk with me. We could pray. They could take me out. So at least I had, I could say I had another family from my own family. But it was really frustrating.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sometimes you hear such stories, and most of the times we hear about these stories from far. It happened to them. It happened to. Sometimes I don't think that we hear it from mothers. They say that I was praying for my husband and stuff, but then now this one is closer home. We can relate to this. And I want to ask you, Herman, let me come to you. How do you think we as young guys can help in such a situation?
Okay, so maybe let's see if I've understood your question. How do we help a person who is facing that?
Yes.
Well, it's a challenge. It's a challenge. And maybe the first thing is acceptance. Just accept, create that sense of belonging, just like she has said. When someone does not feel at home anymore at home, then, you know, create that sense of family and that sense of belonging. I think I read something that said that family is not always blood. You know, there are people who, the Bible says, there's a friend who sticks closer than a brother. There are people who, you know, can be there for you even when you do not, you know, even if you're not related. And I think that is what we can do as Christians. Just love the way Jesus loved. When you love the way Jesus loved and you know that someone is going through something, then it is at that moment that you want to stay as close as possible to them. But in addition to that, I think there should also be perhaps efforts at reconciliation. It might be a long shot, but it's worth the try, you know, because at the end of the day, even those relatives who perhaps reject us because of our decisions that we make as far as our religion is concerned, they also need Christ and they also need to know him. So there could be, even in as much as we are trying to protect this person who, you know, has been ostracized, but there should also be an effort to at least try and reach out to these family members. We've had stories of people who did not want anything to do with their relatives who decided to change faith, but later on they came and joined them. So nothing is impossible with God.
Let me come to you again, Dolene. Are you now in talking terms with your family?
Yeah, we are actually, and my brother number 2, he usually comes to church, but from a distance. But when we are having maybe week of prayer, stewardship, if I invite him, he comes. And you know, we had a challenge actually during that time. My brother married an Adventist girl, but who now joined Catholic. And that was almost the same time I had been baptized. So now, you know, for me to talk to him and he's telling me, you know, this elder's daughter. Actually, his father was an elder.
Wow.
And also their mother. So he's telling me, you know, what are you telling me? My wife also came from your church and she's comfortable. And she's actually almost going to be baptized this year, but I pray God to touch them anyway. So for me, I think it was, actually, what was that again you asked? Over?
I'm happy that you even brought it that you're now in talking terms.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, how, because I'm sure even the viewer is curious right now, even as we go for a break. What is that one reason that kept you going regardless to the fact that your family was pretty much pushing you aside? What is that one reason?
One reason I had is that I knew God was with me and I was feeling comfortable in the faith. And at least I had people supported me. So I was like, even if my family is off, I have a family here. And more importantly, I loved how we could pray. I never prayed like that before. Yeah, so it's something that kept me going.
Yeah. Wow. Even when family, sometimes it might sound cliche, but there's a living testimony here. Sometimes family can leave you, you know, but then I'm happy for the points that she said. She was sure that God was with her. And number 2, something that we youth, even you who's watching, can probably work on is having a support system. A support system which is going to enable you. Because I want to believe if it weren't for the support system that she had, she wouldn't be here to testify. But more importantly, we are human. We cannot let religious issues divide us. If anything, seek for a uniting front. See you after the break. Welcome back to The Identity. Thank you for tuning in. You're still discussing about dealing with rejection. And the first part, we had populated much about rejection in the church setup and also in the family setup. Now, we are going to progress to now a crucial issue that I think, if not all of us, some of us have been victims and perpetrators. But before we go there, let me bring in Cliff here. He has been a leader, and he's also been the perpetrators of us, Team Rebellion. Let me ask you now, in your leadership, during your leadership, what did you do so as to be able to bring harmony in terms of this whole rejection bit in your church?
I'd like to say that rejection is there, and as a leader, if you're facing too much rejection, it also calls for you to question yourself. Like, there's no way that everybody will be against me, so there must be something that I'm not doing right because I'm not righteous, because most leaders hold themselves as self-righteous, like we know it all and this is the way to go because it has been said. But once you understand that we are all bound to sin and we are all bound to mistakes, man is to error. So once you understand that, and then we bring it to perspective whereby you come and evaluate yourself and see, what is this that am I not doing right that is making everybody to be against me? Once you get that view, then you can comfortably serve as a leader. If you think it's something that you are doing wrong, then you'll change. But if it's something that you are doing right and they are against it, you'll have to create a forum whereby you have to educate them more so that they get an understanding of what you're doing.
Now let me come to you also, Herman. How then can you also deal with a case where we have this rejection from our leaders, for example, church leaders? How can we deal with that?
I think there's no problem that communication can't solve. Most of the time, the reason we are very apprehensive of each other is usually because we misunderstand each other's intentions. And if you can create a forum where people can talk and express the way he said, let's listen to your perspective, we listen to ours and try to find a middle ground. The problem has always been, there is a lot of pride. People do talk, but sometimes people come with very hardline positions. Even when you want to have a conversation, they're like, it is either this or nothing. And if you're not doing it my way, and if you're not accepting what my terms as they are, then I'm not, which is really much the problem, which is really the problem. But if people are sensible and if they're willing to put their ego aside, I do not think there's any problem that proper communication cannot solve. Yes.
So it's something that we should embrace.
Yes.
And something that I like about what you told me even before during this show is that let's create a platform for us to share with them that we think have the keys for us to do what we want.
Yes.
Let's communicate. Let's open those channels so that we don't always feel that we are being rejected. If we, the youth, are seeking to have, let's say, a social Sunday, and every time we make this request, we feel like it's just being opposed. Okay. Let's create an open platform so that we can be able to listen into their wisdom, because they probably have something wise to even share. Herman.
Yeah, I also wanted to comment on that. When it comes to differences between elders and youth, or older people and younger people in church, this is a generational issue. Most of our parents were brought up in a different world from the one we are growing up in. They were brought up in certain aspects with different values. So a lot of them are not bad intentioned. They just have a different perspective of life. And if you can be able to, what you're saying, talk freely and express maybe where you're coming from, then anything, is possible. But also, let me also say this, that sometimes the older people also need to humble themselves. There's always been a problem where there is this, it's a logical fallacy where people say, because I'm older than you, I know better than you. So whatever you come with that does not align with what I already think is right, I'm not going to listen to it. And sometimes being rigid like that, it then creates that friction unnecessarily. So yes, the older people, they are more experienced, they have lived life longer, but on certain issues, they should be willing to hear, because at the end of the day, there is no one who knows everything. Whether you're 100 years old or whether you're 15 years old, at the end of the day, there is always something that someone knows. Even in the context of, let's say, for instance, some people are more educated than others. I could have a PhD in molecular quantum physics, but at the end of the day, there is still something I learned from that person who is pulling a mkokoteni that I would never have known otherwise.
Okay. Yeah. Now, still on church setup. You look like you have something to say.
No, I can feel it's so hard. This issue of rejection is very critical and so sensitive, because people are undergoing, every one of us, even when you're here, we've faced rejection at one point, because it happens in our family, like the way she has undergone the rejection from the family, be it also in the relationship. Most of us could be in relationships, and we have faced rejection, and also when you were small, you faced rejection, and also the other circumstances. Maybe it could be sexual abuse you've undergone, physical abuse. That is also part of the rejection, and so, yeah.
We should. This, I think, just to reinforce what you're saying, we should think out large. And now, in a church setup, there's this one thing that we all love to do, regardless of the denomination that you come from. We are good at talking. You know, we are human beings, we socialize, and sometimes we happen to be talking about Dolin between me and Cliff. We just happen to talk about Dolin. What I'm trying to suggest, gossip. My question will be, Dolin, is gossip good or bad?
I think gossip could be bad, could be good.
Could be good. Tell us how good it is. Tell us how good a gossip can be.
Actually, gossip is bad, and I think it could be good when you get what the gossip was about, because the information could help you, maybe. Yes. Not really. It could be a bad gossip, but now you who is being gossiped, when you get the information getting to you, when now you are told, you know, Naomi was gossiping you, that, you know, the kind of things that she was expressing about you might maybe help you shape your life, or help you also destroy your own esteem.
Let me ask. I just had to say I didn't close and ask this. Have you had this experience?
Yes.
And you liked it?
It was bad, but the outcome was good.
The outcome was good?
Yes.
Cliff, have you been gossiped before?
Definitely.
As everyone.
And you liked it? I mean, you didn't...
Who likes gossip? I mean...
You won't like it, of course.
Are we ever going to be done with gossip? Naomi? Never.
I don't think so.
You with how you're smelling, I want to imagine you like gossip.
Not really, not really. But of course, positive gossip, like the way said, you know, girls chat.
Man.
I'm really wondering, what exactly is gossip? Anyway, let me answer, since I've already asked. I've looked up the dictionary definition, and it says to talk about someone else's private or personal business, especially in a manner that spreads the information. And some of the synonyms is a person who is a gossiper can also be called a busybody, a meddler, a rumor monger. So the term the Bible uses is a talebearer. So to gossip is to go around, hey, do you know what Sammy did? You know, things which you do not need to talk about. But if, for instance, and let me use this example, maybe there's a certain, I couldn't think of a better example, so please forgive me.
Okay.
There's a certain young lady who has caught my eye, okay? But I want to do my background check. I want to find out what kind of person is she. I don't think that should be categorized as gossip.
That's inquiry.
Yes.
I want to suggest.
Yes, but you see, if I go to talk to maybe Naomi and I ask her, tell me about this lady, and then she starts telling me bad things, that could be considered gossip, but I don't think it's gossip.
The response will categorize whether it is gossip or inquiry. The response that you get from the person you
Exactly.
And even your own response to what she tells you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think gossip, there's an element of malice. Like it's, in law we call it a slander. You know, like you want to make someone look bad, so you find the most, you dig up, it's called digging up dirt. You dig up dirt on them.
Exactly.
And I think that is
Now
gossip.
that is gossip.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is Cliff, personal experience, does this just affect the ladies or it also affect guys?
No, in the current generation, everybody gossips.
Not me. Speak for yourself.
Everybody
Speak for yourself. Speak for yourself.
Listen. Okay, not in a bad... Okay, like for example, you're on TV, right? I'll go talk to my friend. Look at my friend Sam, he's on TV. Is that gossip?
That is passing
That is not
information.
You buy a car.
That is not.
Once you decide to buy a car, look at him nowadays. He has bought a car. Oh, he has good model. No, what not? Is that gossip?
You're passing information. It depends. I want to imagine it depends.
It's gossip.
What exactly is gossip?
And then what is gossip?
I believe if you go to talk about me about without my authority, without my permission, behind my back, then that is gossip.
There's
no matter
no
how
day.
good, no matter how good or bad it is, it's gossip.
Let me use this example. Sometimes when a famous person dies, the family are usually like, we will reveal more information as time continues about the circumstances around this person's death. And usually they say, we ask you to respect our privacy. So if maybe I'm an insider and I know what happened, maybe this person committed suicide, then I go and I start revealing this information to people, then I think that should be considered gossip, because this is someone's private life that they wish to keep private. And I've decided that despite them wanting to keep it private, I want to go tell other people about it. Yeah.
Or maybe there's something wrong.
Okay.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Or
go
maybe
ahead.
there's something wrong people have perceived about you. Yeah, that comes out to be bad.
Now in church, there's a particular group of people. Let me come to you, Dolian. In church, there's a particular group of people that we always say they're in charge of, quote unquote, the gossip department. Do you know who they are?
Yeah, they are.
Who are they? Who are they?
It's unfortunate that it could be, actually it runs throughout the departments in church.
That's your church. Okay, not your church. That's your understanding. That's your understanding, Cliff.
My understanding and what I was brought up to know, that it is generally under the AWM. I've just narrowed
He
down.
just didn't.
Okay, what is AWM for the benefit of that person who doesn't know? Who is the AWM?
The women ministry. That's why I believe, that's why we stereotype that men don't gossip, because we believe it is under the ladies' department to gossip.
Because we talk so much.
Actually, men gossip. It's only that their own context is different. If I find you sit with Sammy 1 hour, you are discussing about how Samelda bought a nice car and how you had intended to get that car. You know, your motive is that you want to buy a car, yes. But you have now decided, you bought a V8. I think I'll get a V9 myself, yeah? Or you want to get something big, I bought a mansion. That's still gossip, although it's positive. Actually, it's not positive because the elder didn't ask you to come and tell Sammy about his car. So you are gossiping already and you are in charge.
At least there's one good thing that you've said about your example. I'm going to buy a V9.
This is one of the few times I'm going to take sides with the ladies. Yes, men gossip. Men gossip. And you see, it's not, I don't think there is, you'll be hard pressed to find people who don't gossip in church. Elders gossip, deacons gossip, deaconesses gossip, children gossip, as in everyone does it. I think it's one of those things that has become so common that people don't even talk about it anymore.
But is it tearing down our churches?
It is, and I will give you an example. In the church I go to, of course, as I said earlier, it is an open secret. We had issues last year. Part of what made the crisis worse than it actually, look worse than it actually was there was a lot of misinformation being spread. You know, you would hear a story, then, like a broken telephone. Later on, you hear a completely different version of it, and you're like, my goodness, I go to that church. Like, where did you hear that? Like, and that just goes on to demonstrate just how bad this is. And you see, I would hear stories from my friends who, when they were home, their parents would talk about these issues, and they would exaggerate the issue, blow it completely out of proportion. And you wonder, like, how can a grown man or a grown woman be so bold as to lie like that? Because some of the things that were being made up are things which are very easy to prove. Like, it's not even something that is very secretive. Yeah.
But there's
So
something
it's tearing apart the church.
There's something that I want us to clarify, because sometimes from the examples that we have used, there's some contexts which are just giving information.
Yes.
But then there's something that you said, gossip has an intent of malice.
Yes.
And there's also an aspect of misinformation.
Yes.
There could be right, something wrong that somebody did, but then the intention of you even sharing that information is to create a negative image about someone.
Yes.
And that, I think, is what you're talking about. And I'd like to ask, sometimes we use these avenues, because these avenues of gossiping now that you've already understood what exactly gossip is into this context, to actually present an aspect of rejection. Because if anything, I'm trying to imagine, let me use a case in example, the one that you've said. If we all were informed properly, if all the members were informed properly, would there be a sense of rejection? Because I believe there are some people who felt rejected in the circles.
No, they wouldn't have. In fact, some people felt rejected based on this misinformation. There was some stories were taken and they were spun out of control. And then someone felt like, you know, I am being victimized just because I come from this community or this community, then they walked away from church. When the truth is that was actually not the case. It was not the case at all. And it even got worse when now it started getting to the point of even making accusations. And you know, you start hearing that this person did this or this person did that. So some people left church based on this misinformation, which had they known what was really happening, I think the outcome would have been very different.
Let me take this gossip to a higher notch. Let me bring you in. Do you think sometimes we, faithful believers, gossip about our leaders, especially men of God?
Yeah, we do. We actually do, especially if you have a pastor and the wife seems not to be, you know, okay, I don't know, gave us the consent to just start saying like, pastor's wife is not behaving as pastor. I don't know what they do. But when these things come, like, you know, there's a way you expect a minister's wife to look. So when you see something different, it's me, Dolin was seen. So I'll go and tell Naomi, Leo Leona Bibia pastor. She was with that particular dress. And Naomi goes and tells now Sammy. Sammy goes and tells another person. And by the time, you know, by the time that people are wanting to solve this particular thing, you'll find that an image of pastor just gone outside whom he is. He's been victimized of what he doesn't know. And if maybe I could have kept quiet with what I had observed myself, you know, the whole thing could have not happened. But unfortunately it does. And we've led our leaders down to the point maybe even some pastors don't want to preach in their own churches just because they don't get the respect they deserve.
Could I be wrong to suggest, unfortunately, as much as, first of all, to AWM, we don't intend to castigate and say that you're all bad. Not all bad. We love you. You are our parents. You are our mother. So forgive us.
And we are here.
And, and we also have AWM members over here. Could I be wrong if I said sometimes we, the youth, are the ones who propel this vice?
No, you're not wrong. You're absolutely right. Because, for example, the example that Dolin has just given, whereby I saw the pastor do this, you know, as for the women, they might go and address the pastor's wife directly. But as for me, I feel like I can't go to the pastor's wife. So definitely, I'll go talk to my friend. Tell him, by the way, did you see what happened? No. So I'll tell him what happened. Then he'll go and tell another person and another person, another. In the end, we end up forming a big problem because we did not follow the right channel of correcting someone. If you could have gone and addressed the person, and if you can't face the person, look for somebody that will help you address the person that has the problem. It cannot be a pastor's wife. Maybe it's my friend.
Maybe it's the pastor himself.
Maybe it's the pastor himself.
Maybe it's the church elder. You know, and we are coming to the end of this show, and I'd like to give each one of you to get a moment to touch on this particular subject, gossip, and also they make a statement about dealing with rejection. Let me start with you, Herman.
Let me start with rejection. Rejection is a very normal part of life. Whether it happens for genuine reasons or not, it is something that everyone has to go through at some point. We make job applications, we are not shortlisted. We apply for studies abroad, we are not selected. It is a very normal part of life, and we should grow a backbone to be able to endure when it comes at us. But at the same time, we should also not play an active role in causing this rejection, because we know what it does emotionally to someone, and especially on a flimsy premise like gossip. It would be very sad, and it's sad when sometimes your own friends are the ones who go, you know, rumor mongering and tale bearing and making you look bad. So let us not let us watch out lest we become the people who cause other people to feel rejected when it is something that we could have been able to control. At the end of the day, Jesus died for everyone. And we do not have a right, no matter how bad someone appears in our eyes, we do not have a right to shred them and tear them to pieces just because we have differences with them.
Wow,
Yes.
man. Naomi.
Rejection is not good. Every one of us has gone through the rejection, and we react differently. And it's so broad. And of course, there are those who have stagnated. They've withdrawn themselves out from the society because they felt rejection, out from the church. They are afraid of getting involved in relationships and also in their family. So it's really bad. But then we can never avoid rejection. There are different ways on how to handle rejection. And I know we have not discussed fully about it, but then you need to identify what kind of rejection are you facing. You need to understand that. And most importantly, embrace rejection. Embrace it. Because if you don't accept it, then it will really tear you down. You need to accept that feeling, because that feeling is there and you need to handle it, because no one will come to assist you. You need to handle it yourself. And also, I'm so glad because Dovin was able to handle that, because he was able to go out there, he was with the friends, and that's how you're able to handle rejection. So don't withdraw yourself. Just appreciate everyone that is around you, and also those who reject you. It's not because you have something bad inside you. It's because they could be having also personal issues. You know, even as a leader, you could be rejected in the church, but then it's because there are people who are not appreciating. There's something unique you're having, but then they cannot come and tell you, know what, you're good at this. So embrace the society, embrace everyone that is rejecting you, pray for them, and appreciate them.
Wow.
Yes.
Thank you, Cliff.
What I'd love to say is that, back to my initial point, that error is too human, and we all make mistakes, and gossip that leads to rejection is also part of mistakes that we make. All we need as a church, since we are supposed to be a place of solace, like a home whereby I come and lay my burdens and feel like I am at home and at rest, we should have a complete change of attitude and a complete change of climate in the church for it to enable spiritual growth. That's all I'd love to say.
Amen. Darlene.
You need to be focused also. With, after you've understood the kind of rejection you are having, you need to be focused on the outcome. Do you want to stay there? Do you want to walk out of it? And also on gossip, I think it is more of personal. You need to tell yourself, I don't want to indulge in this. And you seek God to help you, of course. And resist, actually, that devil that is tempting you to start speaking about other people. Because the moment you do that and someone feels rejected and this person gets out of the church, maybe someday you could be accountable of that. And you don't want to carry someone's sins just because you are talking ill about them. And not to forget that each and every idle word that we speak, we shall be accountable of it someday.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen. We're coming to the end, and one thing I should say, gossip is sweet. It's sweet.
So is death.
So it says?
And so is death.
I didn't say that. But one thing that I've picked from this discussion is that people will always gossip. As much as we are going to be here and suggest to us, recommend to us not to be partakers, people will forever gossip, forever. How we handle it is important, very important. And I like one thing that comes from Butha's writings is that pain and rejection is the order of the day. So let's embrace it, because you need something bigger and better can come out of it. I mean, she touched very well about identifying and how to manage, and we didn't have enough time to talk about it, but I would encourage you that it's the moment you identify a particular rejection that you're facing, be it a leader, a member, whatever it is, first identify, and after you've identified, that's the best way you can be able to, understand how you're going to come from it. And there's something that a friend of mine once told me, and I'd like to wind today's show by saying this. What people say about you does not say who you are, but it tells you more about who the other person is. So let us not weigh down ourselves with what people say about us, But then we can use those words to self-reflect. But more importantly, those words will only tell you more about what the other person is. Thank you for being with us on this show. Until next time, be blessed.
Walking on the heavenly road, Jesus is with me. Walking on the heavenly road, Jesus is guiding. Walking on the heavenly road, Jesus is with me every step. Jesus is leading us to the Father, our heavenly home. Walking on the heavenly road, Jesus is with me. Walking on the heavenly road, Jesus is guiding. Walking on the heavenly road, Jesus is with me every step. Jesus is leading us to the